Vietnam becoming Thailand 2.0? The internet keeps saying it. The reality is more complicated. Every few weeks, someone posts the same prediction. Vietnam is becoming Thailand 2.0. The post gets hundreds of upvotes, thousands of comments, and the usual debate begins. Foreigners are ruining Vietnam. Bui Vien is getting worse. Japantown is full of massage parlors, more digital nomads, more influencers, more drunk tourists, more visa-free arrivals. The country is supposedly heading down the exact same road Thailand took decades ago. It sounds convincing until you actually stop and examine the argument. The biggest flaw is that people confuse visibility with reality. Walk around Bui Vien for one night and you'll probably think Vietnam is turning into a giant party destination. Spend an evening in Japantown and you'll see hostesses, bars, massage shops, and businessmen drinking until 2 a.m. Open social media and algorithms happily feed you videos of drunk foreigners fighting, disrespecting locals, or getting arrested. But here's the question nobody asks. What percentage of Vietnam is actually Bui Vien? Less than one street. What percentage of Vietnam is Japantown? A few blocks in District 1. Yet somehow these tiny areas become the evidence that an entire nation of more than 100 million people is becoming another Thailand. That's not analysis, that's sampling bias. It's like visiting Times Square and concluding the entire United States is just tourists, street performers, and overpriced restaurants. The internet has a bad habit of turning exceptions into trends. People remember dramatic stories because they're dramatic. Nobody shares videos of millions of tourists quietly eating pho, visiting Ha Giang, hiking in Sapa, exploring caves in Quang Binh, or relaxing in Da Nang. Those don't generate clicks. One drunk foreigner crashing a motorbike? Millions of views. One fight on Bui Vien? Front page. One influencer saying Vietnam is the next Thailand? Everyone suddenly believes they're witnessing history. Reality doesn't work that way. Now let's talk about Thailand. Most people throwing around the phrase Thailand 2.0 don't actually understand why Thailand became Thailand. Thailand spent decades building an economy around tourism. Airports, luxury hotels, beach resorts, entertainment districts, tour operators, international branding, hospitality training, medical tourism, retirement visas, long-stay infrastructure, repeat visitors. It didn't happen accidentally. It became one of the most sophisticated tourism industries in the world. Vietnam isn't following that same blueprint. Its biggest economic story isn't tourism, it's manufacturing, exports, foreign direct investment, supply chains, electronics, factories, industrial parks. The government talks far more about semiconductors, logistics, infrastructure, and investment than nightlife. Could tourism grow? Absolutely. Will more foreigners come? Without question. Does that automatically make Vietnam another Thailand? No, because the structure of an economy matters more than what tourists post on TikTok. Another interesting point completely ignored in these discussions is that Thailand actually outperforms Vietnam in many areas. People claim Vietnam should protect national parks, marine conservation, island management, ecotourism, protected diving sites, nature preservation. Ironically, some commenters pointed out that Vietnam's real long-term threat isn't prostitution, it's concrete. Every year, more coastlines disappear under resorts, more forests become developments, more natural landscapes become selfie parks. If Vietnam loses its natural beauty, it won't be because tourists wanted prostitutes. It'll be because everyone wanted another beachfront hotel. That's a much bigger economic and environmental issue. Then there's the foreigner argument. Whenever someone says, foreigners are causing more trouble, I always ask one question. Has the number of incidents increased, or has the number of headlines increased? There's a difference. Social media has completely changed how we perceive crime. 10 years ago, a drunk tourist getting arrested would have been local news. Today it's on Facebook, Reddit, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, and Vietnamese news pages within hours. Our brains mistake increased exposure for increased frequency. That doesn't mean there aren't more incidents. It simply means anecdotes are not statistics. Another claim often repeated is that Vietnam is becoming a prostitution playground. Again, the reality is more nuanced. Prostitution exists almost everywhere. Thailand, Germany, the Netherlands, Japan, South Korea. Even countries with strict laws still deal with underground markets. The important question isn't whether it exists. It's how large it is, how visible it is, and whether it becomes a defining part of the country's international image. Right now, Vietnam is nowhere near being globally associated with sex tourism the way Thailand has historically been. Ask 10 people what they know about Vietnam. You'll hear pho, coffee, motorbikes, Ha Long Bay, war history, manufacturing, beautiful scenery, cheap travel. Ask 10 people about Thailand. A very different set of stereotypes immediately appears. That difference matters. National branding takes decades to build and decades to change. Another overlooked issue is that Vietnam simply isn't as easy for tourists as Thailand. Less English, less tourism infrastructure, more bureaucracy, different service culture, less nightlife designed specifically for foreigners. Some people see this as a weakness, others see it as protection. Mass tourism doesn't just arrive because flights become cheaper. It requires an entire ecosystem designed to support it. Vietnam hasn't built that ecosystem to the same extent. Now let's look at this from a broader economic perspective. Countries don't become richer by avoiding tourists. They become richer by attracting higher value economic activity. If Vietnam wants sustainable long-term growth, the priority isn't attracting millions more backpackers. It's attracting engineers, entrepreneurs, manufacturers, researchers, technology firms, high-value investors. That's where the real money compounds. Tourism is valuable, but it shouldn't become the backbone of an economy if other competitive advantages exist. The irony is that many of the people predicting Vietnam will become Thailand are focusing on the loudest parts of society instead of the biggest ones. Factories don't go viral. Industrial parks don't trend. Export statistics aren't exciting. But those are the forces actually shaping Vietnam's future. Not one nightlife district in Ho Chi Minh City. So is Vietnam changing? Of course. Every fast-growing country changes. More tourists, more foreigners, more investment, more globalization, more problems, more opportunities. That's the cost of growth. But calling Vietnam Thailand 2.0 today is a lazy shortcut. It's a headline, not an analysis. If there's one issue Vietnam genuinely needs to worry about over the next 20 years, it isn't becoming another Thailand. It's becoming another country that sacrifices its natural environment, urban planning, and long-term quality of life for short-term development. Concrete is a bigger threat than cocktails. Poor planning is a bigger threat than backpackers. And losing the country's unique identity would be a far greater tragedy than having one more bar on Bui Vien.